Okay, sixth grade. So this is your last real instructional video. It's May 29th for tomorrow morning video, and I'm going to read the complete middle school study guide, everything you need to ace science in one big fat notebook. My dog seemed to be very interested in science today. Don't really know if he is or if he just wanted attention and wanted to come outside with me. So again, super cool book. I'm not getting paid to promote it. I just thought it would be cool to read it to you guys. So I have a couple more pages to read to you guys. I'm going to read you guys some pages from chapter 26, weather, and then I'm going to read some pages from chapter 27, which is climate, because that's what we're talking about this week, weather versus climate. So, precipitation. When rain droplets in a cloud combine and get large, heavy, they fall from the sky in the form of precipitation. Depending on air temperature and other conditions, precipitation can be rain, snow, hail, ice pellets, or freezing rain. So ice pellets would be hail. No, that is hail. I don't know what ice pellets would be. To me, that's hail. And freezing rain, I think, is referred to as sleet. So air masses and weather fronts. Air masses are large bodies of air that move across land, bringing in weather. The types of weather depends on where the air mass developed. For example, if the air mass developed over warm water, it will bring warm, humid air. Like right now, it's very warm and humid out here. A cold front means a cold air mass is moving to replace the warm air mass. The boundary between the air masses majorly influences the weather. Cold and warm air masses have different densities, so the air doesn't mix. Instead, one air mass either rises above or sinks beneath the other air mass. Because fronts mean a change in weather, they are an essential part of a forecast weather map. Incoming fronts have different symbols on the weather map. Some types of fronts when warm and cold air meet, they often cause rain and storms. A cold front is cold air mass replaces the warmer air, and a warm front is warm air that moves in and often produces rain. An occluded front is a cold and warm air front. Both move in, but the cold air front moves in faster, pushing the warm air front, often producing rain. A stationary front, a cold and warm air meet and stay put. Once either front begins to move forward, it is no longer a stationary front. I think my dog's more interested in trying to eat the ducks. So, severe weather. Hopefully the weather stays the way it is right now so I can do kung fu outside today. So, when warm, moist air moves quickly upwards and cools electric charges from the air molecules, creating negative charge on the bottom of the cloud and a positive charge at the top of the cloud. The storm cloud induces a positive charge on the ground. The positive and negative charges rush toward each other, creating a bolt of electricity called lightning. Lightning is incredibly hot, expanding the nearby air. The air expands faster than the speed of sound, producing a sonic boom called thunder. So thunder is actually the sound of air expanding. So lightning first, then thunder. Tornadoes. So some of you guys told me today you had tornado warnings come across your phone last night. When warm air rises quickly in I don't even know how to say this cloud name. Cumulonimbus clouds, like when a cold front moves in, the updraft can create a funnel cloud. If it reaches the ground, it creates a temporary swirling vortex. of the winds called a tornado. Tornadoes are destructive, but they usually last only a short time and stay in a small area. Hurricanes, our favorite type of severe weather in Florida. Not really. Hurricane season starts on Monday, June 1st. Hurricanes are the most powerful type of storm, formed in low pressure areas over tropical waters. Low pressure areas of warm, moist air rise and cause powerful winds. The Earth's rotation causes the winds and clouds to swirl in counterclockwise direction in the northern hemisphere. The eye of the storm is the center of the storm and is surprisingly an area of calm. So it's not like, it's like there's a break and then like the second half of the storm comes by and then you get whammed again. So predicting weather, a meteorologist, like my friend Heather, is someone who studies the atmosphere and predicts weather. Meteorologists use temperature, air pressure, humidity, precipitation, and other information from satellites to predict weather. Radar, which stands for radio detection and ranging, is also used to collect weather information. Radar devices send out signals that get deflected by storm clouds and rain, so they can show the level of precipitation in an area. Radar maps show heavy and light rain in different colors. Using this information from many sources, meteorologists take weather maps, which are used for the forecast. My dog's being a bad student. He got up and started walking around. Okay, so climate, chapter 27. I'm not reading the whole chapter, I'm just reading part of it. Okay, so climate is the average weather conditions of an area over a long period of time. In terms of temperature and precipitation, for example, the climate in coastal Alaska is colder and wetter than the climate in central Mexico. Climate factors. Latitude. Latitude measures the distance, which is measured in degrees, of a location north or south from the equator. Different latitudes get different amounts of light and heat from the sun. The sun's rays hit areas near the equator more directly, so they are generally warm. Areas near the poles, which get sunlight at low angles, receive less heat and are generally cold. Different latitude regions correspond to different climates. Okay, so this is going to talk about the different types of climates. So remember, there's 3 different types of climates that are important. So the tropics, they're located near the equator. The temperature of this region is hot for most of the year unless they have high altitude. So like we live in Florida, we don't have high altitude, so it's hot here all year round. The temperate zone is right below and right above the tropic zone, and these areas get temperate or moderate weather. Most of the U.S. is located in this temperate zone. South Florida is like the only part of the United States that's not located in the temperate zone, because we're located in the tropic zone, which is why our temperatures are so much hotter than everywhere else. And the polar zone is at the very top of the temperate zone north and very bottom of the temperate zone south. And the polar zones get little solar radiation, so they are freezing for most of the year. Elevation, or the height above sea level, also affects climate. Air in the troposphere, which is the layer of the atmosphere closest to the ground, is heated by conduction with land because air higher up in the atmosphere has fewer molecules. There are fewer molecules to absorb heat from the Earth's surface. So temperatures are colder. Temperatures generally go down to about 6.5 degrees Celsius which is about 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit per 1,000 feet. So if we're going with the metric system, it would be 6.5 degrees Celsius per kilometer of sea level. So water. Locally, water takes longer than air to heat up and cool down. Coastal areas have less fluctuation in temperatures. Global ocean currents also affect coastal climates. Warm water from the equator forms currents that move outward, warming the air and nearby lands. After traveling to the poles, the cooled water returns to the equator, cooling the air and land it passes. The Gulf Stream is a warm current that starts near the equator and moves from Florida all the way to Iceland. Iceland would be very icy without the warming effect of the Gulf Stream. So when you hear the word ice, the country Iceland, you think Iceland's full of ice, but it's not. Iceland is very nice, and Greenland is actually full of ice. Mountains, not only do mountains provide high elevation, which affect climate, they also affect rain patterns. When warm, moist air bumps into the mountain, it rises and cools. As it cools, the water condenses and precipitates to form rain. After the air has dumped all of its moisture onto the mountain, the air is left dry, forming a rain shadow, an area where very little precipitation falls. Cities can affect local climate. Cities have a lot of buildings and black asphalt, which is the concrete on the floor, the roads, that absorb heat from the sun, which then heats the area. Rural areas, on the other hand, have much more vegetation than cool air that cool the area with evaporation. City temperatures can be 5 degrees Celsius warmer than surrounding areas of the city, is sometimes referred to as a heated island. And okay, this is the last part, climate types. So there are actually 6 climate types. So I'm going to go over all 6 of them quickly. So a climatologist is a scientist that studies climates. They use a classification system that uses average temperatures and precipitation levels from different regions. According to this system, there are 6 main climate groups. Tropical. Hot weather can be either tropical wet or tropical wet and dry along the equator. An example is a rainforest in South Africa. Then we have dry. Dry is desert-like conditions. An example is the Sahara Desert in northern Africa. Polar is freezing cold conditions found at regions near the North and South Poles. An example is Antarctica. Mild is moderate temperatures, usually found along the coastlines. An example is the Mediterranean, so like by Italy. Continental, large temperature differences between summer and winter. There is no water nearby to moderate the temperature. So an example would be the Midwest United States and Canada. And then high elevation climates are an example, which are high altitude climates, is an example of the Himalayan mountain region. Okay, and that is it from my book for now. And now that I close the book, my dog is interested again. Oh, I'm gonna lose my books on the balcony. Anyways, Oreo, you wanna say hi to the class? Turn on. Turn on. Ugh. He's not really interested in saying hi, he just wants to lick me. He wants to lick the sweat off of me because I'm sweating from this nasty humid air. Say hi, Oreo. Silly puppy. Okay guys, I'll see you on Zoom at 11 o'clock. Bye.